everybody's having a blessed day. Man, I hope everybody, is up and moving and striving to walk upright. Flying too low will cause you a lot of pain, it will bring you a lot of headache, and it will cause you a lot of suffering. And oftentimes, I want you to understand that not everybody can survive at such a high altitude. When you hear of terms of low frequency, low vibrational, you know, man, if you're striving for this path of righteousness, you're striving for perfection like Hamashiach, following in that example of perfection, man, you cannot fly low. You cannot hang around, frequent around reprobate people, lawless people, people that's got a form of godliness, religious people. You have to fly higher than that. And I want you to understand, don't expect, there to be an abundance of people when you fly at a high altitude, because it's actually very rare biblically. Your amount of people, you think about the preacher looking amongst 1,000 people and found only one righteous man. You think about out of a whole city, Lot was the only one spared. Man, there's not going to be a standing ovation for you to fly high, but you got to understand this to keep yourself in the love of the Most High. Because flying low, although you think you have some sort of companionship, although you think you have friends and things like that, and family, you got carnal blood, and then you got the blood, of Hamashiach, those that have been covered in it. And oftentimes those two are not one and the same. They don't cross over. So a lot of the hurt, a lot of the suffering that you experience in life will come from the people closest to you. The people who you're trying to really do your best for will cause you the most hurt, the most pain, and bring you the most headaches. But you have to fly high. Man, people would look from the outside and say, man, you live a very boring life, because I'm not out with the rest of the world doing a lot of the things that the world does. And I do that not only to protect my peace, but also in obedience to the word, because we are in these last days. So I'll read 2 Timothy, starting at chapter 3, verse 1, and go all the way down to verse 5. It says, but understand this, that in the last days, dangerous times of great stress and trouble will come, difficult days that will be hard to bear. We are in those days right now when I'm telling you, you got to fly high. You got to fly high. You got to be the eagle that says, man, I'm not going to fly down here with all these nuisance birds. I'm not going to fly down here with all these vultures. Man, I'm going to reach new altitudes of righteousness. For people will be lovers of self. We're in a daytime and hour where people are narcissistic, self-focused, lovers of money. People aren't doing some of this, the lawlessness and the transgression of the commandments you see people doing. They're not doing this out of the love of Yah, even though their lips in their religion say, I love him. No. Man, they're doing it for the love of money, impelled by greed. You got to think about all these people that are going on these vacations, and people that you went on these vacations, something's happened to you, and everybody, I don't know. You got to think about that young lady that went on a vacation with her friends and ended up missing, and they had footage of fights breaking out. Okay? Impelled by greed, boastful, arrogant, not really having any skills, but talking like you got them. Revilers, disobedient to parents. You're going to see this in children. If you've got, acquaintances or friends, and they allow their children to just run all over them, and the children run the house, man, you got to fly higher than that. You got to remove yourself from these equations, because in those equations, the answer never equals anything positive. It's always going to be something negative, something retrobate, something lawless, man. You got to fly higher. Ungrateful. Man, you can rescue somebody from splitting their wig wide open. You can rescue somebody, in this daytime and hour. And it seems like the hardest thing for people to do right now is simply to say thank you. Man, I really appreciate that. But rather, you're going to get in ungratefulness, they're going to go around and slander your name as if you brought the struggle upon them. Unholy and profane. Book says, be holy as I am holy. You don't see that many people doing that. And they will be unloving, devoid of natural human affection, calloused by inhumane, irreconcilable, malicious gossip. People don't care about the truth. They just care about what's the latest tea. Man, if you listen to any form of radio, man, you're listening to tea. Ain't nothing been proven. Ain't nothing been judged according to righteousness. You're looking at tea. You heard what happened to such and such, and what do you think about it? And what do you feel, Bob? And what do you feel, Sharon? And devoid of self-control. Man, we're in these times, intemperate, immoral, brutal haters of good. Man, if you stand up as a man in this daytime and hour and say, man, we're supposed to be fearing the Most High Yah and keeping the commandments, not giving lip-ship worshipers, not being lip-ship worshipers, man, they'll want to cancel culture on that. You said something to offend people. Traitors, reckless, conceited. I'm telling you, you got people out there right now that you probably don't. If you got a car, you probably don't want to let them borrow your car because they'll jack your car up and then act like they don't know why you're feeling some type of way. Doing all kind of stuff with your stuff. Just reckless, conceited, lovers of sensual pleasures rather than lovers of Yah. Rather, lovers of sensual pleasure. They care more about their sexual desires and getting their needs met than actually fulfilling the will of the Most High. Holding to a form of outward godliness, religion. The Amplified calls it religion, although they have denied its power. And how do they do that? It says, for their conduct nullifies their claim of faith. Avoid such people and keep far away from them. You can't be out here flying with these vultures and birds. You can't be out here calling yourself righteous, hanging with scallywags and lowlifes. Man, you got to fly high. Man, one thing about it, you look at all these other birds and look at crows, man. Look at vultures. Man, there's normally 2 or 3 of them. And that's in real life when you see a human walking around vulture that's fitting according to this description. They're normally going to run in groups with. How many times do you see an eagle with a group of eagles? No, because you're flying at such an a high altitude, man, you've got to be self-governing. You got to be self-disciplined. You're flying where the air is thin. Vultures can't survive. And in order to walk upright on a daily basis, in order to follow Hamashiach, man, there's no other way you can move. A lot of your problems, a lot of your headaches, a lot of your pain, a lot of your suffering, man, comes from flying too low. Man, hit that next level. Hit that next air ceiling and know, man, there's not going to, I want you to look, man, the book says narrow is the gate, and wide is the gate that leads to destruction, and many be there that find it. When you think about that, there's going to be, if you was down here being a part of those who have a form of godliness, man, there'd be a standing ovation for you. Every time you walk in the scene, oh yeah, we got a lover of self. We got another narcissist. But when you fly high, man, it says few be there that find it. Narrow is the gate. Man, it ain't many finna fit through that gate. But that doesn't mean it ain't worth it. I'm telling you, in this daytime and hour, stay out the way. Let this thing run its course and make sure you focus on what really matters. Fearing the Most High Yah, keeping His commandments, keeping yourself in the love of Yah. Because the opposite of that is keeping yourself in the love of your flesh. Fly high, Israel. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.